Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 340. Starting out, it's such a big episode. We're starting out with my video frozen, staring at you. This has been a little bugger that's happened lately. We'll keep at it. We'll get it fixed up. This is the official Detroit. It's the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris. With me is my good friend and elated co-host, Jeff the Riz Riz. How you doing, buddy?
It is good to be with you. You appear to be frozen again. We're just going to have you in suspended animation throughout this show. We'll wonder when you're coming and when you're going. It'll be fun.
I never know which way is what, and I wish I knew what is going on there. It's been a nightmare. All right, we've got a great show today. We've got a lot going on. The Lions, if you haven't heard, have just had a big draft. Just got themselves a bunch of players. The UDFA list is even bigger than ever, and so we're going to be looking at that. Yeah, it's huge. We've never seen it that big before. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to get that going. We've got a quick rundown of the draft, the UDFAs, the whole thing. We're joined by Dan Shonka from OurLads, not to be confused with Larry Zonka. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Packers and their fun with Aaron Rodgers. A whole lot going on. Riz, are you ready to go, my man?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, let's get right into it. And I'm telling you, this has just been one crazy time after another. We'll get right into it here. We've got the first thing we want to talk about, Josh Hill.
Had breaking news just before we started recording the show tonight.
What the heck is going on?
He has decided that he wants to retire, per Dave Burkett of the Free Press, and that was quickly validated by a couple of other sources as well. So Josh Hill was the number 2 tight end on the roster, signed as a free agent to take Dan Campbell's old role as the blocking tight end and occasional red zone target. He has decided that he wants to retire after, I believe it's 13 NFL seasons. In fact, the first 2 comments that I got on Twitter was, "Wow, that was fast for being lionized," and I don't think it's that. I can't say that it's not, but. This is a guy who's had a long career. He's taken a lot of abuse over the course of his career, and maybe he's happy where he's at. And this is the time to do it, right? When there are people available to get signed, who are still out there, people who didn't get drafted, or people who are still on the market, and the Lions could be looking at one of those too. But,
yeah. So
it looks like Josh Hill will never wear the number. I forget what number he was. I think he was pegged to get 80 actually in Detroit. I don't quite remember, but. He'll never wear it because he's going to retire. Unofficial, he hasn't filed his paperwork yet, but doesn't look like he's ever going to play.
Yeah, man, that's no good. That's a guy who I already bought his jersey. No, the reason he did it is he wanted to retire as a Lion. I don't know. I got nothing good to say about any of that, right?
I mean, he followed Dan Campbell here, so it shows the sort of appeal that Campbell has, but it. You know, he's what, 35 years old. At some point, you got to realize that maybe you just can't do it anymore. And maybe he found that time that this was the time.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Still, I'm wrestling with this camera here. I apologize, everybody. It's probably going to be an ongoing thing. Maybe I'll just sit here for a bit until I get a nice profile shot.
Yeah.
All right.
You got to get frozen just right.
It never is. It's always while I'm having a sip or something else, right? All right, let's take a look on the tight end front, though. With Hill going away, there's somebody that might be rolling in.
Yeah, old friend Darren Fells is visiting the Lions. It's either tonight or tomorrow. I didn't get quite clear. Yeah, I can't talk today. I'm still way over fatigued from the draft weekend, and I had to play basketball, Dad, after draft weekend on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Let me tell you, that was not a fun trip to Fort Wayne to get to that game. I still haven't recovered. So.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
You're interrupting me.
It's all breaking while I'm trying to fix it.
Oh my gosh. So Darren Fells, who played the last 2 seasons in Houston, caught 11 touchdown passes, 55 passes, I want to say, in that time. Was with the Lions in 2017. We liked him. Everybody liked him. They wondered why they didn't bring him back, especially when we had the cavalcade of crap we had at tight end in 2018. And now he's back as a free agent. He is 37 years old, so there's not a lot of upside left with Fells. But you know what you're getting. You're getting a 6'7" former college basketball player who can go up and get the ball and he loves to block. Specifically, he loves to go out to the second level and nail linebackers and knock them on their butt. And that's a role that's open with Josh Hill gone, because that's kind of what he was good at too. So
there's definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah. So and it doesn't look. I mean, they do still have Mr. Mack, Elise Mack from Notre Dame, and what's his name, Tedford. But neither of us have again, I can't talk. We can't see you, and I can't talk. This is great radio. Let me tell you. Neither of those guys have ever suited up for it. In fact, right now, T.J. Hawkinson is the only tight end on the roster who's ever been active for an NFL game. So they need a tight end or two.
Yeah.
And it looks like Fells will be one of them. I haven't been in touch with his people. I do know his people. I haven't been in touch with them yet. But I would presume that he knows what he's getting himself into. He's been around the block long enough at 37 years old. Keep in mind, though, that he did not play in the NFL until he was almost 30. So he does not have the usual wear and tear on his legs of a 37-year-old.
Yeah, and I really like Fells. I think he has a lot to offer a team that needs a lot. I think he's a really fun guy to have. So it'll be good to have.
Like Hill, he's holding a place for 1 year or two, just because they have that many roster holes to fill.
Right.
And that's all it would be, and he'll be fine at that.
Yes, I agree. I am constantly working on the background on this, bud. I will I'll let you know as soon as I get something going here. Well, you'll know when it works.
You're frozen very beautifully right now.
Well,
so.
That's why I kind of left it. I think that was like good enough, and I'll just deal with it later, or I'll deal with it in the background. Okay. So one other thing I want to talk about with that is the draft itself. It was the strategy that the Lions are doing and took. It was confusing for me, and like in the moment, it was not at all what I expected the team to do, right? And the fact that and we'll talk about safety and we'll talk about wide receiver later, but the fact that they had left those unaddressed was just not even like an option that was on the table to me. It took me some time to like think about what happened, because I loved the players. Like you remember we were talking. I was processing.
This was our conversation Friday night. We really like the players. We're just not sure how they fit with the team vision and where the team vision is.
Well, the rest of the draft kind of helped us see what that vision was, right?
Yes, it did.
And
it did.
It worked out pretty good. I mean, it's. I think it makes a whole ton of sense now, in the kind of light of day with some time to think about it. But boy, in the moment, it was confusing for me. So I know a lot of people thought that we didn't like the draft for some reason, and it was probably that confusion that was in our voices and on our faces. But it's really all about them taking. I mean, they fooled a lot of people, right? Some people are going to come in and say, "Oh yeah, of course," and I knew it all along. Nobody really knew that this was.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But and to be honest. And two things, what's true about Riz, it's true about me. We don't mind kind of changing our view and admitting when we were wrong on something and when we did something incorrectly. Right. And we don't go to the grave holding on to a rope too tightly, right? Those are kind of two big things about how we operate and how we work. Yeah. It isn't anything like that, right? It's just like I didn't want to sit here and be a hype man for something that I wasn't going to be able to hype. You know what I mean? Normally I'm pretty high on the Lions. This was just completely different and required some thinking. I should have defaulted to a good place on this because these guys have been so good at what they've done so far. But I've been around for a long time with the Lions. I know also that maybe the good place isn't always the place to be.
I think for me, it was just the fact that the players that they took in the first 3 rounds, they're all good football players, and I do like them. And in fact, they all wound up being good values for where the Lions got them.
Very much, yeah.
The Sewell was number 12 on my board, but I can accept taking him at 7. I don't have a problem with that. They're not helping the team win games this year. And I think drafting them and the way that they did was sort of the slap of reality that, like, oh my God, we are going to be bad this year. I loved getting St. Brown and Derrick Barnes. I love the aggressive move up to get Derrick Barnes. I didn't appreciate them trading with the Browns on that, though, because I had to write both sides of it instantly. But I love the move. Derrick Barnes was a guy that I really, really liked. And I thought for all the people that really wanted Micah Parsons in the draft, you know who you are. There's a lot of you out there. He's a very talented player. Derrick Barnes is going to be that guy for Detroit. He is in fact, I heard an interview with Dan Campbell today on SiriusXM NFL Radio, and I will be transcribing most of that later, and I'll have it up on Lions Wire in the morning as well. He talked about how Derrick Barnes is going to be their Mike, but he's going to blitz a lot, and he's going to move around a lot, especially when they're in a 3-man front. He's going to be on the field a lot. So the fact that they coveted him, Campbell just gushed about him, about his work ethic and his versatility, his athleticism, his length at the position. He said it was something that they were really, really looking for, and that they didn't think they were going to get him where they got him. And that's why they were aggressive in moving up to get him. And based on everything that I heard from that and from a couple other places that I kicked around for the weekend, Derrick Barnes is your starting middle linebacker this year.
Yeah.
With Jamie Collins and Alex Anzalone sort of flanking him. Collins playing more of the I don't want to say it's a jack role, but there will be a lot of that involved in what he does. And then they're filling in around that, whether there will be another linebacker on the field, doubtful. More likely they're going to have 3 or 4 corners on the field at this time with those guys. So that seems to be what we got some clarification on what the defense is going to be. And you better believe that both Onwuzurike and Onwuzurike, much easier to say there, and McNeil.
Here you go. Oops, I got one for you that'll help you, make you feel good. I got actual audio of me trying to say our Warrior when we got him in. That was like it exactly. So yeah, go ahead. This is a fun one to say. I gave you a little breather there. Spit it out, Riz. You got this.
Levi Onwuzurike.
Onwuzurike. Oh gosh, that one's gonna be the hardest. Onwuzurike.
He actually says it faster than that when he says it.
Yeah.
I'm not of that ethnicity, so I can't let that flow off my tongue very well.
Yeah. We're talking about how good we were at saying Polish names before the show started. We were pretty proud of that.
Yeah. I mean, growing up in Cleveland, I learned how to say Prochaki and Kudrowski pretty well, even though there's only one vowel in each. Yeah, this is a different animal. I actually liked one of the things that they talked about was the influx of Nigerian and players of Nigerian descent. I actually think that's really cool that they're sort of building a little niche on that. You know, it's a bear for me to type these words out all the time, but if it makes them closer as a family, I'm all for it.
All day. All right, we got that going. I wanted us to make sure we copied that and got that handled. But I do want to talk about our guests. Really quick before I do, I got to say, Brendan, thanks a lot. Technical problems are not still the best Lions show out there. I'm going to try to get that video working again when Dan gets here. And speak of the devil, Dan is here. Let's get him on the show and see if maybe that makes anything better. Dan Shonka, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we get him. Oh, there.
All right, we'll get Dan. So Dan, you're going to have to bear with us. Chris is having some technical difficulties with his camera, but you look great, my friend.
Welcome, Dan. So glad to have you. Very glad to have you. Yeah, my audio is free, or my video is freezing here and there. I got to tell everybody, Dan Shonka, former scout with Philadelphia, Washington, Kansas City. He's the GM and scout for OurLads NFL Scouting, Shrine Bowl personnel consultant, USA Today, so much more. He is not to be confused with Larry Zonka. It's Dan Shonka. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, Larry's Hungarian. I met Larry one time, and he goes, "Are you Hungarian?" I said, "No, I'm Czech." And he says, "Well, I'm Hungarian," you know. So, but anyway,
we're having fun with ethnic names all over the place. We're just talking about all the Nigerians that were in on the Lions now.
I'll tell you, you know what? You've got to really practice these names, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys because it's really, you know, it's tough. You know, and I hate to butcher the guy's name, but one quick story. I was head coach out at New Mexico Highlands many moons ago, and I never took Spanish in high school. And, of course, all the Hispanic surnames, the guys gave me a lot of passes because, like Tom Trujillo, I said Trujillo, and I butchered them. But the guys were great. And by the end of my reign there, after 4 years, I got the hang of it. My wife is fluent in Spanish. She had, 12 years in college of Spanish, and I never had a Spanish course, so she had to. But I did pick up a few slang words.
That'll happen.
Those are the first ones to come every time.
Especially in the football industry, that will happen. So, Dan, first off, it's great to finally have you on the show. You and I have known each other for a while. You put out one of the best draft guides that's out there, the OurLads Draft Guide. It's a must-read every year. I like the fact that you put out special editions. You have the post-draft. You have the preseason one. It's something that everybody that's listening to this should absolutely go get. It's very good. I'm happy that it was in PDF form this year. I've been enjoying that quite a bit. So thanks to you and your team for all the hard work on that, because it's really great. And I love that you write it like a football scout writes it, and not like a media person writes it. I'm picking up a lot more of the football nuances from it that way. And I think that's a critical skill that you guys really do a good job with.
Well, thank you. Because once in a while we get a subscriber, an old timer, is well, hey, those aren't complete sentences, And I said, no, they're not supposed to be. That's scout speak,
That's right. And
you can cram a little bit more in when it's scout speak too, instead of those complete sentences, So, no, that's because when you're writing reports for teams, hey, you got to be concise. You don't have a huge area a lot of times, so hey, you got to get right to the point, and that's it, So, although right to the point, sometimes we got 350 or 400 words, not counting our quarterbacks, which I kind of go crazy with sometimes on quarterbacks. I've gone 500, 600, 900 words sometimes, but anyway, hey, need I digress?
Yeah. So let's start with the Lions draft. Let's start at the top. Penei Sewell. I know you really liked him. Give us your thoughts on what they're getting, and he's going to be the starting right tackle in Detroit for at least the first 3 years of his career. Are you okay with that, with him moving over to that side?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jeff, I think the big thing is nowadays, your right tackle has got to be almost as proficient as your left tackle, his feet, the length and everything. And that's a big bonus, with Decker on one side, who's under contract, and then you got Sewell. I mean, that's unbelievable pair of tackles, really. I mean, Sewell's is he a wide-bodied guy? I mean, and he's going to run people right up the field past and the quarterback. So I think that, no, and that's the thing. People always say, well, the left tackle's getting more, they've got to have a guy that's got great feet and all that stuff. And I said, hey, you got to have two of them, because, hey, matchups, they'll put their best pass rusher over on your right tackle. So, hey, you better have one that can, double move, they can handle double moves, they can redirect, all that good stuff. So, but Sewell is that guy, and hey, good for Detroit, because I never thought he'd make it there in a million years, and maybe the Lions didn't either.
Yeah, I mean, and Aaron Donald plays wherever Aaron Donald wants, right? So you need players to be able to play against him, and Sewell really shores up that line. That was one that was, like you said, we didn't really expect him to make it, and the way the draft board fell down to him was really exciting. It was really exciting to watch all that come together. Let me ask you on that pick, is Sewell the guy you would have taken there, or would you have looked with the Lions kind of set up right now? Would you have looked more towards one of the flashy players, the wide receivers or something like that?
No, I mean, I was kind of shocked, Cincinnati did, because I did a mock draft a day or two before the draft, and I just felt that Cincinnati should have taken Sewell. But then, all along for last month, I was thinking, well, I understand are you going to take a future Hall of Fame, maybe wide receiver, or maybe annual Pro Bowl, maybe Hall of Fame tackle? Right now you'd say, I'm sure, Joe Burrow's got up on a table on his crutches and was stomping on the table, and say, hey, this is, I want my receiver, da-da-da. But, and then Mike Brown's over there saying, well, hey, wait a minute, look at your one knee. The other one might be like that next year, but they end up picking up a tackle out of Clemson, Carmen Jackson, or Jackson Carmen. And we had him late in the first round, so the way it worked out, and it was so deep in tackles this year, Cincinnati probably figured, hey, let's take this great receiver for Burrow, and then we'll go ahead and play it from there. And then that was, how Detroit ends up with Sewell.
Yeah, no, it makes good sense. And I know there's a lot of people. I mean, when this draft started, I was all about wide receivers and safeties and those two positions in the first 3 rounds as far as what this team really, really needed to be able to compete this year. And this draft tells us what we really already knew for the Lions, that next year is not their Super Bowl year, and they're admitting it. They're building, though, for the year after that, and the year after that. And that's what the second pick tells us. Also coming off the board for the Lions, Levi Onwuzurike. How's that, Riz? You like that?
Very good. Very good. You get extra bonus points.
What do you think, Dan? Was this the guy you would have picked sitting in Brad Holmes' seat?
I tell you, I probably would have went the other way around, take McNeil first, because
Really?
Levi didn't play this year, and he was inconsistent. I mean, he flashed. You can see what they saw in the second round, and he was kind of a flash guy to me 2 years ago because he'd play high, he'd get driven off at times, then he'd make a great play, and McNeil. To me, he plays a little lower. He doesn't play as high. And I probably would have went the other way around. But, hey, they did their due diligence, and they felt like Levi was their guy over McNeil. So they went that route. But he was more of a flash guy to me than a consistent, every down player. And that's always bothersome. And I mean, he may be end up being a big time player, and but he was our 5th rated tackle, where Elaine Mcneil was our 2nd rated defensive tackle. So that's just me flipping them around.
What made you like McNeil so much? I liked him as well, but not to the extent that you did. So sell me on why Elaine was that high for you.
Well, he his thickness and his ability to 2-gap. He could play in a lot of different schemes in 4-man front. He can shade him on the center. You could put him, at any spot on that defensive front in the interior, and he played low. He was very strong. He's got powerful hips to him. He's thicker. Whereas Levi, Onwuzurike or whatever, he was 290, and McNeil's 315, and he's about 6'2", and he just he's a better leverage player. And I think that when you're looking at defensive linemen, you got to be able to anchor, stop a running game, and fight those double teams, drop, and grab grass, get up the field, and that's what he can do. That's why I like McNeil a little better. Whereas Levi, I'm going to make it easy for me and everybody else, but he played a little high, and when you play high, you can get rolled out of there, and so I think that's why we like McNeil, and he had some pass rush a little bit from the inside too. He had some powerful. He's got strong hands, and so that's scratching the surface, but that's a little bit of it.
Dan, we have a question from Brandon in the chat, and this is a really good one. How do you think the teams approached the layoff of some players who opted out for COVID? Because it didn't. I thought a lot of players would fall that didn't, and it just surprised me. And so I'm wondering if you were able to put together maybe if there was some common approach to how they handled that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think before the draft, everybody's kind of wondering the same thing, because I talked to some teams that said, hey, they're going to drop them a little bit. Some said, hey, as long as they look like during workouts that they've been working out, they're going to keep them, where they're at on the board. And there's a lot of guys that end up working out really well. I mean, like Levi ended up running a 4.88, I believe it was. So obviously he was working out and things, and McNeil was around 5 flat, which is really good for a 315-pound guy. He was explosive, So I think that the approach, hey, there's 32 teams out there. It's like Baskin Robbins. You pick, your favorite flavor, and they obviously the teams went with, especially a lot of those guys that opted out, were really good football players. I mean, I think there was only a few of them that didn't work out really well. I mean, most of them, hey, they did what they were supposed to do, and they got in shape. Hey, they were lifting. They showed good agility in their workouts and things. So I think that was the thing. When you looked at a guy and you felt like he was working out, then you're going to you'll go ahead and roll with him. What you saw on film from a year ago, or 2019.
Yeah. That's a good thought. Yeah. Can I go back to Washington for a second, because you're talking about how Levi had inconsistency, and they had another guy there, Joe Trion, who wound up being, I think he was the 32nd pick.
Yep. And
my big knock on him was, I love him for like 35% of the plays that he plays, and the rest of the time I really, really don't. Is that like, can colleges have that sort of rep to them, because they're both from Washington, and Washington's had other guys that have had hit and miss type things? Is that a college culture thing? Is that a coaching thing, or is that just like a weird coincidence?
No, I think it's a coaching thing, and I'm with you, Jeff. If you saw, I think we end up giving Trion like a 7.99, which is to us the top of the third round, and he goes late, and it's just like, it's horses for courses, and they Tampa liked him for what maybe to me, I'm a big production guy, and some potential means you haven't done it, but I can understand. I mean, Trion was a mean dude, he was just rough. He's tough. He's got, decent arm length. He's strong hands, all that. And he flashed kind of like Levi did. I mean, They just explode. I mean, they could explode on you. And then all of a sudden, like you said, hey, for 65%, he wasn't around. You'd see him play 35%, and you go, wow, that's a first round guy. The other, 65%, he doesn't show up. So, but anyway, that's, I don't think, Washington, over the years of, they've had a little bit of that, but they've got a new head coach now. It's been there for a couple of years. So, I think that they'll get that out. But these guys were a pair of really, Trion's, he worked out great and all that stuff. Levi ran great and all that. And so people, sometimes they look by that stuff, which I think it's a mistake, but that's just me thinking out loud.
That's okay. So the long and the short of it is that they need to get good coaching and coaching that reaches them and straightens out the inconsistencies in their game. So that's hopefully we got the coaches in Detroit that can make that happen, and also in Tampa too. That's
actually the next question to be answered, right? I mean, we've seen what the front office is going to do. They seem to really nail it on this draft. Now it's what can the coaches do with these players? It didn't feel like we had either one of those two pieces of the equation. Now this year it's one where we're walking through step by step to see how each group does. And Dan Campbell, boy, he looks and sounds great, but it all depends with what you see on the field, doesn't it?
It does, and I think he'll do a great job. And one of my favorites, either player or TV personality, Chris Spielman. I mean, he's a guy you'd like to have around, just whispering in their ear, saying, "Hey, let's pick it up." You know what I mean? This is the way you play the game, and we don't want to drag butts around here. We got to crank it up. You know what I mean? So, and Chris would get right to the facts real quick with guys. And you got to have a guy like that around. In different ball clubs I was with, you always had really a former great player or a administrator that played in the league, or, hey, get in their ear a little bit. And when I was in Philadelphia, we had a lot of guys like that. I mean, John Wooten, who's in the, Ring of Fame there in Cleveland, he was there. And then Ray Rhodes. I mean, Ray was, he could have been a comedian instead of a coach, but I mean, he was funny, but he could say the F word and not, it didn't offend anybody, if you know what I mean, the way he said stuff. Right, I mean, it was just like unbelievable. So, but he would get in people's behinds, and as would John, and John was a little more flat line and kind of, would just say how it is, and this is what you got to do, where Ray would put a little color into his language, so.
I think we have a good balance of that between Spielman and Campbell, who's never shy about letting it fly.
That's a good thing.
Shades of Chris Kassura.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing. So let's go to day 3 now. We'll get to St. Brown in a second, but let's stick with the defense, because we're just talking about linebacker and Chris Spielman, my football hero. And they traded up to get Derrick Barnes, who's a guy that I really grew to like, especially in his senior season at Purdue. It looked like they finally found, like, oh my goodness, this is where he belongs. Why wasn't he here earlier? Because he played everywhere. He played as an edge, he played as a Sam, he played as a Will, and then they put him at the Mike. And from everything I've heard, he's going to be the starting Mike in Detroit right away. This is a guy who he's asked for number 55. He wants the old school, the throwback, to be in the middle to call the plays. Where were you on Barnes and his progression throughout his career? Because he was lightly regarded coming into this season, and then really took off.
Yeah, which kind of surprised me because the guy always played with a great motor. He played hard, and he played on the outside. He played on the inside. He was a good blitzer. He'd come downhill and fill those running lanes like a freight train. When he'd come, he was just like you said. He's kind of a old school linebacker, and a lot of teams don't have fullbacks anymore. But if a fullback came through there, he would take it on their side of the line of scrimmage. I mean, no, Derrick was. I don't want to say he was one of my sleepers, but he was a guy that I really, really liked, and I think he was underappreciated, like you did, Jeff. And he's a smart guy. He at his workout, he ended up running, I think, 4.57 or something like that at 240 some pounds. And he's a really smart, instinctive guy. He was a good blitzer. When he played outside linebacker or quote their defensive end spot, he played good technique and he got up the field. He didn't get hooked. He played square, he could come up and he'd have contain, on the quarterbacks that would come out that way. I mean, he was a multi-service outside, inside linebacker, a super versatile guy, which all NFL teams want. And so that's good to hear. He's going to play Mac, because I'll tell you, he's like, he'll be like a Mac truck when they come running the ball in between the tackles. I mean, he'll lay the hammer to you.
I was very excited that they picked him up and traded up to get him. I think that shows just how much they valued it. The fan base here, if you would have taken a poll before the draft, they would have told you that linebacker was the biggest need. Linebacker and wide receiver were the two biggest needs. They didn't do it on day 1 or day 2, but then they doubled up on day 3 right at the very beginning of it with him and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know where you were at on St. Brown, so I'll let you have the floor on that, Dan.
Well, no, I tell you what, we had St. Brown. The thing about Southern Cal receivers, you always wonder if they can run. They look so good out there. Those Trojans look good in that, in the gold and scarlet or maroon, they look like $1 million. And sometimes you get them and they just can't, you get them and they didn't run as fast or play as well as you thought. But I think, St. Brown is, he did so many things well. He's not afraid to go over the middle. He caught everything. He's a physical guy. He'll block. It was a good choice at 4 in the 4th round there, and with all these receivers, and he's got decent length, not super, but he runs good routes. He's a guy that he's really good at the top of his route. He does all those little things, that are really, really well. And now he just has to get in the league and get, more of the NFL nuances, which, at Southern Cal, a lot of those guys, they're playing as defensive backs, and you're playing with wide receivers that have played in the league or are going to play in the league. And, he was the best of a lot for the last 2 years. And so I think that getting him in the 4th round was a good deal. And again, I don't think he'd burn it up though, running his 40. I don't have that in front of me, but I can't recall. It wasn't great. It was okay. It wasn't what he wanted, obviously. Everybody wants to. Well, I'll tell you what, those guys, they're not happy unless they all run 4.3s. And the way it looked this year, somebody's cheating on a lot of watches around the country. But
yes,
but anyway, no, his ability to run routes and to go underneath and maybe be that safety valve kind of guy for Goff, but I think it was a good pick, and he'll get some playing time because that was a need.
And it's funny because you talk about USC players Detroit's got a lot of a lot of experience. We had Johnny Morton on one end of this, the kind of scale. On the other side, you got Mike Williams back in 2005. We pulled, he's ranked as one of the top busts for the Lions draft. So yeah, you get those guys out of USC. Sometimes it's just hard to see what's going to happen. Let's go to the other side of the country though. I want to ask you about. Well, I don't want to say the name because I always butcher these things, but I'm going to go for it anyway. Ifitu Melifonwu, cornerback out of Syracuse. What are your thoughts here at the end of the third round? This is the Rams pick that we used, and we picked up a cornerback. How do you feel about this guy? His brother didn't do so well in the league, so sometimes you worry: is this the same motivation across? Is this the same? How are they similar in this way or different? What's your take, Dan?
Well, the guys are really good athletes, and they can run. His brother was. I mean, he was impressive at the combine. He knocked the lights out of it, if you remember.
Yep.
And but I think I could be wrong, but I think Ifatu, is that how you pronounce it?
Ifatu,
yeah. He I think he's a little different than his brother. I think he's more of a football player. His brother might have been more of a track guy, and so I think that, hey, we liked a lot of things about him, and in fact, we had him in the second round, in our guide, and we've got two secondary. One guy coached in the league, and he's really good in secondary. We coached secondary in the league, and then another one that's a long time small college coach that was his expertise as a secondary, and both those guys really liked him. And
that's good to hear.
So it was, and I trust both those guys. I've known them for one guy 30 years, and another guy probably 20 years, and they really liked him, and they really felt that here's a guy that can be physical, a guy that can come up and play press, he can play off, he can play any package you want him to play, and so. I think he's a live one now, and he's got some length to him, and I don't know if they'll end up, keeping him on the edge, or if they'll end up giving him some work at safety, with a lot of times you're playing that big nickel, and you got three safeties out there on the field. But if he's versatile enough to do that, or he can stay out there as a corner. So I think, he's going to be a good addition because of that length and his arm length and his athletic ability. He's got to work. Those guys are a little bit taller. Sometimes they got to work on bending their knees. They got to stay down, keep their butt down a little bit. But he's pretty good. So I think he'll break the mold. I think that's really a good third round pick, especially when we had him in the second.
That's good to hear. Can we stick on cornerbacks for a second? Jeff Okuda was the number 3 pick in 2020. He did not have a good rookie season. He will tell you he did not have a good rookie season. Did you really like him, and do you see that he can maybe bounce back from a rough start, or is it's obviously too early to give up on him? But did you see things last year that maybe indicate that maybe it was a fluke season, that he was so lost in coverage? And are you confident that he'll get back to where he was as a prospect, where he was a number 3 prospect in the draft?
Right. No, I do. I think injuries had something to do with it. I think, did he end up playing like 11 games or something?
He did, and he had sports hernia surgery shortly after the season was over.
Yeah. So I think we'll give him a pass, and then also we got a new defensive package and regime and secondary coaches and all that. So I think that Okuda will be back, because I really liked him a couple years ago, or when he came out and everything. And I watched, I kind of followed him during the year, and I really felt that the injury situation, some of those guys just never get in the flow when they're nicked up, and then all of a sudden, boom, they can. And they always improve that second year too. So I think that we'll give him a pass, and Okuda, I think, and then, hey, now you got a guy across from him, a big guy like this, and you know, and a rotation guy or what have you. So I think that I think Okuda will be back.
Good.
Excellent.
We do too.
All right.
We're hopeful, anyways.
Let's near the very end of the draft, we picked up Jamar Jefferson. Looks like an interesting cat. Now I have to say, and this came up in our Slack chat. One of the things that it's harder with late round guys, but when the Lions social media team put out his highlight reel, he had a fumble in the end zone. Not usually something you want to put on the highlight reel. So we're talking a late round guy here. What are your thoughts on Jamar?
Yeah, well, you know, he was a guy that I think they took a flyer on that had decent speed, and he kind of came up late in the the cycle or the draft cycle and things. And because they only played a few games out there, and so you never really got a great feeling for him. We had a high 7th round grade on him, and I thought that he caught the ball okay. He ran the ball okay, nothing spectacular, but he was just a guy that's going to compete for a spot on the roster. And a lot of teams took backs late in this draft, and I think the Lions wanted just to add one more to the roster. But I think that he's what he is. He's a good free agent back. So let's see how he competes and see if he'll be better. Once he's on the field.
Excellent. Right. Yep. I think that covers the draft, right, Riz?
It does, yeah. So we'll go right to an undrafted free agent who a lot of people are excited about because he was on Last Chance U. That's Rakeem Boyd, who appears to be competing with Jefferson for the same spot. Who did you like more out of that, and your thoughts on Rakeem Boyd from Arkansas?
Yeah, he really 2 years ago, he had a great year, and this year, I mean, he runs square to the line of scrimmage. He's got some juice when he breaks through. He can get quickly through the hole. We liked him, at Arkansas. In fact, we had. He was invited to East West as one of, we didn't have the game this year, but he was one of the selections. And when we put out we had two great guys, Nick Knutson and Robert Parker. They did these little clips. And the first one they did was on Boyd, and he got like 17,000 views. And I don't know if that was because somebody didn't know him or what, but he is an explosive guy, caught the ball okay, downhill runner, good vision. He can jump cut in the hole. Now, I liked him better than Jefferson, but hey, we'll find out, but Boyd he's really a good back. And I'll tell you another one, though. Derrick Mills, I thought, did a lot of good things at Nebraska. He was their guy. He was their bell cow. And so that gives you a couple free agent backs along with Jefferson. It's going to be competing for a spot there. But Mills was a good downhill runner. He caught the ball okay, out of the backfield and everything. But he was their guy, and I did like him watching him on film because he did a lot of good things that backs do. I mean, he went out on the routes and he could squirt through the hole. He could catch the ball in check downs, and he was a powerful guy. He was a strong runner. He'd run with his pads over his toes and his eyes up and all that. So I liked him also, and they got him at the right spot. I thought he could have been drafted late, but I thought that, you got two backs that could have been, taken late and end up signing them as free agents to go along with Jefferson. Yeah.
Yep. All right. I want to move on to another guy, another UDFA that I'm pretty sure you know about. I looked on your Twitter profile. You have a picture of you at the Senior Bowl. It's something that Riz and I do every. Love the Senior Bowl. We did it virtually this year, but he was a Senior Bowl player who I actually had ranked a lot higher as a guy who would get picked, even though he had taken. I think he took last year off at Wake Forest. Sage Surratt, wide receiver. He was out last year, I believe, and it was the question because his quarterback was gone too, that maybe he wasn't all that, or what led to his precipitous fall compared to where we thought he might go?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, you're right. I mean, he was a good, really a good receiver, and he had some injury, I think slowed him down too. But I know our scout that does the wide receivers really liked him a whole lot before the season and everything. And so, he didn't have great speed. I don't recall what that speed was, but he was kind of I don't want to say possession receiver, but if they got the ball to him, that he'd catch that ball and he couldn't go to the house with it, but he'd catch everything that was thrown to him. So no, he is a good receiver, and I don't want to jump him here, but I tell you, those other two guys, Adams is really a good receiver. I mean, I really like it. I'll tell you, I mean, those two guys are kind of my guys, and then one of my other scouts, like Surratt, because he was doing Wake Forest stuff. And I liked Adams because, I mean, he caught everything. He's got huge hands. He caught everything there, and he was their guy. I mean, he pulled that ball down. He played at Arkansas State, and he was a man playing with boys at times. I mean, he'd go up and get those 50-50 balls and pluck them. And I really I like this guy a lot. He was another East-West selection. And then so was Javon McKinley, who his first year at Notre Dame, he kind of took Claypool's spot out there. And he's got some juice and athletic ability. And he was their leading receiver, I believe, this year. And so, he is another, I mean, but a year ago, even some really, there's so many receivers, some really good ones just fell, to free agency. And that's the way that these guys did. I mean, all three of those guys could have been drafted, and so, but I think that's a excellent 3 free agent receivers. Like those guys very much, all of them.
We need it because we have some openings.
Yeah, it feels good to hear that.
This is their chance. Yeah, this is their chance. I mean,
and it's
like
an honest
McKinley,
chance.
he runs a little upright times, but hey, you're paying. That's what you're paying coaches to do, to teach these guys the nuances of NFL receiver play. And I will say this: another thing, Ray Rhodes, going back to Ray, one time we were in a meeting, and his coach was. One day, he'd say this player looks like an all-pro. Next day, he says, "I want to cut him," and Ray looks over at him and says, "You know what? It's a hell of a lot easier to find a coach than it is a good player." So that coach didn't say anything about the guy anymore. You know what I mean? So if they coach those guys, there's some talent there.
That's good. Awesome. I want to ask about one other guy, and this is specifically for a friend of mine who asked about it because we took Logan Stenberg in the 4th round last year. It did not go well. In anything. He was not active for games even when they were desperate for bodies. They were signing people off the street and playing them over him. Now they signed Drake Jackson, who is a center. They do need a backup center, although they did just sign one today from Minnesota Mankato as well. But your thoughts on Drake Jackson and if he will be better for the Lions than Mr. Stenberg has been through the first year of his career?
Well, I don't want to kick a guy when he's down, but Steinberg, I didn't like. He's a big stiff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember him last year, and everybody's talking about this guy, and he played like he had a back brace on. You know what I mean? It was just I couldn't believe it. And that because I mean, but anyway,
it didn't work. Yeah. Drake's a little more agile.
He is, but the thing that's going to hurt him is those short arms. I tell you, first thing when I talk to offensive line coaches, and over the years, everyone, and they always ask for the impossible. They want a guy with 34, 35, and then at tackle, they want 36-inch arms, all that. And, hey, they don't grow on trees, but Drake was Drake Jackson. He was a very feisty guy, very smart guy, can make all the calls. He can get to that second level, cut off linebackers. He leaked through and he made the calls on the offensive line. But he's limited by just physical. I mean, his arms are a little short, but that doesn't mean he can't play, but he's going to have to do, things a little bit different and tougher. And he's going to have to get his, when you have shorter arms, it's tough to get into those defenders up, and lock into them because of what they can do. They can go right over you. I mean, they're just going to, whether they're going to chop you, and if they might have to find his arm. I mean, it's not like he's got alligator arms like that, but I mean, he's a good football player. He's a good football player, but he has short arms. He's got decent athletic ability. He's very smart. And I always like smart, tough guys, and that's what he is. He's a smart, tough guy. You know,
it's funny that you say that, Dan, because I listened to an interview with Dan Campbell today, and every single player that he talked about, he used the words tough and smart as proud characteristics of what they were looking for. So that certainly makes him fit the bill. Yeah, so I'm happy with that.
That's why they locked into him, because I saw a lot of people out there had draftable grades on him, and we gave him the highest priority free agent grade just simply because of the measurables. Yeah. That I mean, I just know what the coach is like, and that's when in regards to arm length and all that stuff,
Yeah. So we'll get you out of here on this. We didn't get a quarterback this year. We're having Jared Goff as our quarterback, for better or for worse. We're hoping it's for better. But if it is for worse, let's look at the top of the draft next year at the quarterbacks and your early thoughts on the Keaton Slovises and Spencer Rattlers and Desmond Ritters of the world. Where are you at early on in the process? Obviously knowing that things do change quite a bit from year to year.
Well, yeah, you saw 3 quarterbacks this year that not anybody's really talking about, including Mac Jones. And then we didn't know Trey Lance was going to come out, and then he skyrockets up to the 3rd pick. So, but Rattler was very inconsistent last year at Oklahoma. He was sometimes after he got his behind chewed out earlier in the year, and he's kind of an immature guy, and obviously when you're a freshman like that coming in, I mean when he was out, he's from Arizona, Chandler, I believe it is. And, he got his behind kicked there in high school because he thought he was better than he was. And then he gets to Oklahoma. And then, and I think that, they had to settle him down a little bit, and he got better the last half of the year. So, hey, we'll see what happens, if he matures. Now Slovis kind of reminds me of Mac Jones. But the thing is, he gets injured. I mean, he gets injured. That's what's killed him. Because boy, he throws a nice ball. He's accurate. Kurt Warner is kind of his private quarterback coach. He's another Arizona kid. He's from Arizona. I don't know if he's a Gilbert kid. I'm trying to think, but he's out there in Arizona, from Arizona too. And
well, you've got me intrigued with Kurt Warner, who I love him a lot.
Well, so that's his private quarterback coach. So if he can stay healthy, Slovis will be, he'll be in the mix because he's like I say, he's like Mac Jones. I mean, he's smart, he's accurate, he's got great ball placement, all that stuff. But he's got to stay healthy, and he's had a variety of injuries there. So, that's the thing there.
Sure. Now, Dan, do you have time to answer one more question on one more guy? Or sure. Oh, I appreciate it.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
This is a position the Lions are just really aching at, and we picked up a guy named D'Angelo Amos out of Virginia. That people, I generally know that folks don't know a whole lot about. What's your take on D'Angelo? We talked about the wide receivers, especially with the dearth of talent the Lions have at wide receiver. These guys are really going to get a real shot this year. This isn't just we're throwing some guys in the field. There's a super big need. Those players are going to get a shot. We have a big need at safety. Is D'Angelo Amos going to get a shot, or is he a guy that we just need to hope he works out and keep our eyes open for somebody else?
He's a good football player. And the thing that I can't understand, Virginia players kind of took it in the shorts this year. And I don't know why.
They did.
Remember right. Snowden?
Snowden was for me, he was a 4th or 5th round guy.
Absolutely. And he didn't get drafted. And I'm thinking, well, what are people looking at? And I don't know if they're mad at the coaches there or what are they, but and they're very cooperative. That's the thing. But no, I think that D'Angelo Amos he'll have a legitimate shot because, again, and he's a smart, tough guy, okay? Mm-hmm. And he understands schemes, and he understands the one thing that these guys, including Tommy Kramer, the offensive guard, and the other guys through here, you tell them something one time and they understand it. And anymore, with the way that the CBA is, you can't spend a lot of time with these guys. So they got to learn quickly. They got to learn on the fly, and that's how they're going to make the team. And that's what D'Angelo Amos is. He's a smart, tough guy that understands schemes. He can make the calls back there, and breaks on the ball, sticks his foot in the ground, and he can drive on the ball, and everything's in front of him, and he won't usually make a mental mistake. So, I mean, again, there's a guy that I think is a good, an excellent free agent.
Yeah, he showed me a lot personally when he was at James Madison. I liked him there, and then the fact that he was able to adjust quickly and fit in at UVA, it portends well for a chance. And again, because right now this is a team that has Tracy Walker and Dean Marlowe as the starting safeties. They need help, Dan.
Marlowe, he's been around for a long time. He's always kind of been that backup guy, or he's been put in if somebody goes down and gets hurt or what have you. And Walker kind of started out his career pretty decent, didn't he?
It was very good. Yeah. It did not work well for him last year. He was not in the wrong side of. He got on the wrong side of Matt Patricia for whatever reason. We don't really know. That happened a lot in Detroit.
Well, and that's the big hope. A lot of the players are actually going to be a lot better this year than they were last year. There's a lot of scheme deficiency that hurt them, and I think Tracy Walker is one of those guys that I really have high hopes. Loved him and loved his trajectory until last year. So we're really hoping to see something come out of him.
I think you'll see anytime there's a coaching change, you'll see guys get better, and if they're not, hey, they're jettisoned out of there. You know what I mean? But Walker was a guy that we followed quite a bit. In fact, both. He was a East-West guy, Shrine Bowl guy too, and did a lot of good things. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that he can get back to where he was as a rookie.
Yep. Dan, we kept you long, and I really, really appreciate you joining us and doing the show. Great analysis. Appreciate it. Really glad to meet you. I'm glad my video didn't work so we didn't scare you off. And I look forward to having you on again. I really, really enjoyed having you. Great.
Same here,
grab.
guys. I mean, now that Zoom is so easy, a year or so ago, I was trying to get some things on Zoom, and I almost had to have a producer do everything, and now, hey, you guys have the link there, or these different shows. I might have the link, man. You hit it.
Life's
even
easier.
I can do it. So
that's great. I'm looking forward to coming down to Florida next year. I missed the Shrine game the last 2 years. I'm looking forward to getting back to the Shrine Bowl. And I have to. Your new boss there, or coworker there, Eric Galco, is an old friend of mine as well. So I'm looking forward to working with him now too.
So Dan,
Eric can do a great job. He's going to be in charge of operations and things, and I think he'll bring some fresh. I was just in charge of the personnel the last couple of years. I scouted for the Shrine Bowl before that, and we. 2 years ago, we had 100 guys on NFL rosters in 1 year. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of an underrated game with a lot of talent, So, looking forward to it and seeing, what and next year should be loaded too. As you guys know, all those players that went back. Went back to school. So, but anyway, no, it was great. I'm looking forward to it when we can do it again sometime, guys.
For sure.
Okay. Thanks so much, Dan. Thanks for joining us. And we will definitely get people to get your guide because it is a great resource. And I love getting the preseason guide in the summer. It's dedicated pool reading for him because then I'm looking through. I've seen this guy. I don't know who that is. I better go watch him.
Good. Well, hey, again, thanks a lot, guys. Great being with you. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, check him out at OurLads_Shonka on Twitter. Dan Shonka. Dan, thank you so much. And I am gonna. I'm down here in Tampa. I'm gonna hook you up with one of those hot dogs from the Shrine Bowl next time we're there.
Super. Thank you very much.
What an offer. Thanks, Dan.
Bye now.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.
The hot dog. You got to be there to know. You got to be there to know.
They're already made, Chris. They're sitting there in the press room.
We're gonna find out if it's a 2-year pre-make or a 1-year pre-make this year.
Oh my, yeah. Dan's great. I love Dan. I've actually met him for the first time, I was introduced to Dan by former Ohio State coach and then Bengals scouting. He was sort of one of their two scouts at the time, John Cooper. Introduced us on the sideline. I wound up sitting with them for an entire practice, and just the chatter back and forth from the two old hats talking about dudes that I remembered from when I was a kid, and then we were looking out at the guys out there on the field. It was like going to school for a day. It was awesome, and I've been very grateful for Dan ever since then. He's a really good guy. He's a smart guy, and again, he sees things through his own eyes. He does not get caught up in the groupthink that a lot of draft Twitter and a lot of the more younger draft media get into. Yep. He doesn't care, and I love him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta tell you, the video, I tried to make it work in here. It froze. It looks like I'm rocking the CBD, so I'm just gonna leave it there. Head on over. If you want to look like that, head over to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. You'll probably do it looking better. But you get 55% off with coupon code LIONS. Anxiety, pain, and insomnia, it works for all of those. It's really, really good stuff. It's all natural and legal in all 50 states. We'll get you guys taken care of. cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. Coupon code LIONS. Get your head straight and your body straight and do it legally. Now, just so you know, the Chill line, the Delta 8 line and the Chill Extreme, those, they're legal, but they will trip a drug test. So, and they give you those will put you down.
Might lose a day or two.
Yeah. If you eat more than one of the gummies, you're gonna be wow. So cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com.
And they're apparently a desirable Mother's Day gift because my mother asked me to get her that for Mother's Day.
Did she?
There you go.
All right. I'll ship you some. I'll get you some, bud.
You're too kind.
We need to take care of Mom.
My mom will thank you.
Yeah. All right. Psychedelic Monk, thank you. Chris and Riz, my people. And I promise you guys that the video problem will be fixed. I've got to the bottom of it. It's a hardware thing I can switch out. So.
He will figure that out. We trust you on that, Chris. So that was a great draft wrap. Again, thanks for listening with Dan. I love getting him on and getting just the old stories, man. I love that stuff.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
We have one more topic we want to cover, and it's one that's just primed to end the day on. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, hot, spicy, and delicious over there in Tampa Bay. Could this finally be, like we talked about the regression to the mean, could this finally be it? Could this be the thing that implodes? So. Will we see, look, the only love in Aaron Rodgers' life is Jordan Love, right? Will we see this team blow up, and will we see the Jordan Love era? Which,
oh my goodness, it looks untenable, does it not? So Greg Warren and I, Greg from the podcast, hi Greg, we went out, we watched, we were at the draft on Thursday. We suffered through the rain and the sleet and the cold, and we wound up at a pizza place in downtown Cleveland, and there was a guy there in a Packers Rodgers jersey, and he was sitting at a table with Browns fans, and he looked like his puppy had just died. And none of the Browns fans were there. We're like, yeah, you've had your fun, dude. Go away. We're good now. And Greg and I certainly weren't going to console him. And then the I'll call her interesting looking woman who was to our left, who wanted to trade up and get Micah Parsons at number 1 overall, who also took a shine to Greg, even though her husband was there with her. Was also like, yeah, screw that Rodgers guy. We're tired of the Packers.
Hot wife.
It was something.
Oh, Greg almost got sucked into a crazy situation. Oh man, does he still have those luscious locks, Greg?
No, well, he still looks good. Let's put it that way.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Oh, all right. So, there it is. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers could be done. I mean,
and there's all kinds of speculation now. There's talk of, it changes by the day. It changes by which report you're listening to, as if it's Schefter or Rappaport or Garofalo. Peter Schrager had something today when he was on the McAfee show talking about how he believes that, and McAfee and AJ Hawk, his former teammate, and Rodgers' former teammate in Green Bay, both agreed that he would just walk away. He doesn't need to get traded anywhere else. He can be done and he'd be happy.
And it costs him $11 million to do that, right? Each for 2 years.
I mean, he can walk. Hey, dude, he was good on Jeopardy. He could do that job.
The Jeopardy money would cover it, right?
The Alex Trebek money. Yeah, I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers' finances. He's a smart guy. I don't personally like him, but he's very well accomplished, and the Packers will get significantly worse without him. I can't fathom. I should ask Dan this. I can't fathom Jordan Love ever being good.
No,
just from the game film that I watched. I vividly remember we went out one night last year, me and my friend Dave, 2 years ago, and we watched the Utah State versus Nebraska game. And Dave doesn't watch a lot of college football, but I'm there and I'm watching. We're at Founders Brewery in downtown Grand Rapids, and he sees me taking notes. He's like, "Who are you watching this?" I'm like, "I'm watching the Utah State quarterback." He's like, "Why?"
Oh my God! I think the ideal scenario for Rodgers is that he retires. No trades, no picks, don't get any value out. Right? Just get their money back and then let him.
And that would be a spiteful thing to do, and we all know him to be that sort of a spiteful person. So it does make sense.
I heard that this has been in his mind since draft day last year, and he waited to spring this Jack in the Box on draft day this year because he is that much of a spiteful guy. If that's true. Right, that almost makes him a little caustic to pick up. I don't know that you want that in your locker room or on your team. As much as it can give you, it can take away. Right?
If you're a coach, do you want that coming in? I mean, obviously he's mega talented. He's still an MVP caliber player.
Sure.
But if you're Vic Fangio in Denver, do you want that force of nature coming in? You got to coach it when you're on the hot seat, and knowing that if you can't handle him, you're gone and he's not.
Do you want a popular with the fans superstar calling for your coaching job or your GM job? Are you confident enough that you can withstand that? And that's exactly a real question to ask. That is a real question to ask, boy.
Yeah. And I don't know. Denver has a new GM there in George Payton. We don't know how he would operate on that.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like he only wants to go to Denver, Las Vegas, or San Francisco. Well, San Francisco's out now because of Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders, who knows what's going on with the Raiders? I don't think they know what's going on with the Raiders with their interesting drafts. As always, they took a player who was typically mocked in the third round, and they took him at number 17 overall because that's what they do. I just guessed on the wrong guy. Dang it, because that was one of the few that I missed in the first round. Stay tuned for the whole Rodgers thing because it's not anywhere close to being done yet. And I just got to say, and I said this, I was on a Cleveland TV show yesterday. I said this, it's so nice to watch a team that has been set at quarterback for so long struggle with the succession plan.
Yeah.
Now I know that there are people in that building up there that like Jordan Love. I just don't see it, man. And I'm looking for me, he's not better than Deshaun Kaiser. And I saw way too much Deshaun Kaiser between going to Notre Dame games and seeing him in Cleveland and covering him there.
Well, just because they like him,
Kaiser.
I wouldn't say that they're great evaluators of talent comparatively in the NFL. So, I mean, just because they like him doesn't mean a lot.
I will tell you this. I know a couple of Packers writers who will tell you that Tim Boyle, who's now in Detroit, was better than him.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, I did get some direct audio. Like I said, we've got some people in the building. I direct audio of Brad Holmes when he heard the Aaron Rodgers news. Oh, that might have been the Sewell pick. I'm sorry. I got my quotes mixed up.
Either way.
Yeah, it was he probably did it both times.
Was that a whip cracking?
That was his hands. That was a clap and a woo.
Wow.
This one I'm going to keep for a long time. It's all. He was a happy guy. There you go.
It almost sounds like a monkey getting shocked. For Peter Gabriel fans out there.
All right, there you go. I think that'll cover it. Thanks again, Dan Shonka. Check him out at OurLads_Shonka on Twitter. He's a great follow. He's a great dude. Definitely worth all your time and effort to get him on there.
Yeah.
With that, remember, don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get access to the Slack, and we got a Discord going too, which has been just fire lately. So we're talking about what's going to go on there, what we're going to do. We have some thoughts, some fun things to do. Like we do things differently. Always we do it differently, and then everyone else comes along later. So you'll see. It's a good stuff. Got great stuff there. We've got some surprisingly awesome shows coming up. Some surprisingly, I don't know, surprising, but awesome guests coming up. Riz, you've been killing it landing these guys on the way. Give you great credit. And we got some other stuff coming too. You guys just buckle up. It's
we got some good things. It is entering the heart of the off season, but we will not sleep. Keep subscribing. Keep watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe so you're notified when we're going to go live. Obviously, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast aggregator, where that's Apple, Google, Android, Stitcher, all those different places. I use Stitcher myself, or Google. I'm a big Spotify guy. I live on Spotify all the time. So You can obviously find it there.
Riz, you're after my job. What's going on? First you got Case, now you're after mine.
Just trying to help out a little bit.
Appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button. You guys know the algorithm. It really, really helps when you do that. And give us a call via Skype at Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. You can also use 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. Leave a message. We'll get that call on the air. Also follow us on Twitter at Jeff Risdon, spelled as you see below, and at DET Lions Podcast. That's me. At DET Lions Podcast. Best place to be, pants free, as we like to do. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, baby, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.